Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about the season finale of Luke Cage, it's episode 13. It's called You Know My Steez. Full spoilers for the episode, and of course, at this point in the whole season, because we're going to discuss all of it. Uh, as is typical with these Marvel Netflix shows, well, maybe not all of them. I feel like in fact, maybe I'm comparing this more to other cable shows than I am the rest of the Marvel Netflix shows. But the way that the final fight, as it were, happens at the start of the finale.
And the rest of it's kind of like an epilogue to the show.
Yeah, it's epilogue, dealing with all the loose ends and, you know,
Yeah,
whatever
because
else.
thinking back to the other Netflix show, Kingpin is quite towards the end of the last episode of season one,
Yeah, that's why I doubted myself after I started making that comparison.
and
I'm like,
obviously
no.
Kilgrave was right at the end of Jessica Jones.
Hmm.
I can't remember season two of Daredevil, the end of that, because I've wiped that from my memory.
All the big stuff was towards the end on the roof. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That's right. That's what happened.
Uh,
I knew there was something in that season.
uh, but yeah, so my previous comparison that I was starting was bollocks. But it was reminding me of something, and it's something a lot of other cable shows do. Stuff like Breaking Bad. I know Dexter used to always be really guilty of this, where the finale would essentially be the second last episode, and then the last episode would almost entirely be
Game of Thrones is famous for it at this point.
so. It felt a lot like that, and that's not a complaint. It's neither a negative or a positive. It's just all the fight, and it's a lengthy enough fight. Like it goes on for a good 10 minutes probably at the start of this episode, and he's fighting Diamondback, and a crowd forms. The guy who's been selling the videos gets his cameraman to show up.
It's like, quick, bring the 4K camera.
Also, what sort of operation is this guy running? He's got a 4K camera, like
I know.
for
But
these,
he's flogging it on the street. It's fantastic.
and he shows up with a proper harness for it and everything. He's got the double handles. Oh, jeez, proper legit operation going on there. You'd be filled for thinking that just because he's selling them on the street that it's
I love
some
the
shoddy
idea that he
job.
runs around New York just waiting for something to happen. It's like, quick, get the camera.
Given how many superheroes are in New York in the Marvel universe, he honestly doesn't have to wait around that long, probably.
It's true. He's picked the right spot for it.
But yeah, so looking Diamondback are fighting, and it intercuts this with a boxing match that Diamondback trained Luke for when they were teenagers.
Works really well.
It does work quite well, and it sort of mirrors what the fight was happening, how Luke was kind of getting beat up in the fight, and obviously in present day he's getting thrown into a car like repeatedly.
Just absolutely pummeled.
Yeah, and that's when he comes back. And ultimately, when he's explained to Claire afterwards how he sort of won the fight, he says, "Well, every time I fought back, he lashed out more, so I just stopped feeding him hate." Uh, Very nice little message there.
Yeah.
Nice little.
Which is,
lesson.
kind of how the show as a whole has been.
Yeah, it has been, and it gets as much as the finale does have some negative aspects, particularly the death of Candace and the fact that Mariah gets to walk free and is just being evil and will probably be around for season two, maybe show up in the Defenders. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure if she's Defenders level, but
Well, I don't think she'll be a main threat in Defenders, but I have a feeling that in Defenders we'll see a lot of like minor characters from all these shows pop up.
yeah, maybe.
Because she's still in the crime sort of world, she might pop up in one episode because it connects to whatever's going on and so on. But so no, it's actually quite an uplifting episode for the most part, though. Otherwise, because when Luke goes to the police station and he gives his speech about Harlem, and all the cops, including the ones who were determined to catch him and seemed to want to shoot him before, all kind of stop in their tracks and just listen to him.
Yeah, it's a really great speech, obviously, but it is the reactions of everyone else. Just everything just stops mattering. They all just pay attention to this instead of their work.
Yeah, yeah, and even like the people been interviewed on TV about the fight after the fact and all that. But of course, Mariah has let slip that he used to be Carol Lucas, and this leads to agents showing up to take him back into custody for that. Because even if he was innocent, technically escaping prison, even if you were innocent, is still a crime. So
Yeah, because you should have to go through the
yeah,
correct processes.
so he still owes the state time, is the way they put it.
Yeah.
So he goes willingly, but there's also another really nice moment in the car when he goes in, and he picks up this book. Now I'm not familiar with the book, but it seems like it's a part of Black history or Black culture.
Yeah.
And
I think it might have been hip hop history stuff.
was it? Yeah, I wasn't
Because
sure.
they talk about East Side and West Side.
Oh, do they? Right. But he picks it up and he comments on it, and it's actually the white guy who says, "No, no, that's mine."
Mm.
And I thought that was a nice symbolic little moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice little touch. And you know, it ends with obviously this musical montage, but obviously other things go on through it with all the other characters. I thought Mariah, who's been slimy all season, got especially slimy during this episode
Yeah.
for multiple reasons. And the one that stood out to me the most was when she was in the interrogation room, and the inspector is going through all these details, and then Misty comes in and goes through like the details of the murder scene and all that, and she mentions the mic stand.
Yeah.
And Mariah, who all season long has been, I'm the face of Harlem, I'm doing this for all my people, so on and so forth, you know, pride this, pride that, immediately just says, you can't trust black people around, like, you know,
Yeah.
it comes off as so hypocritical, and she's never felt more slimy in that moment.
Yeah, it's just like she just doesn't even trust the people who are working there not to have stolen them.
And she does use, you know, the racial slur, which I'm not going to say the phrase that people always use when they want to say it without saying it, right? I'm not doing it. I refuse. But she uses it, and I think it's important to mention that she uses it because the way she says it is very discriminatory. She uses it in one of the worst ways you possibly could.
Yeah, I think it's also the first time we've heard her use it. I mean, we've heard it sparsely throughout the show.
Oh, you may be right, actually. I don't know if she has used it before.
I don't recall hearing her use it
That's
before.
a good point.
She's been very prim and proper.
Yeah.
And keeping her appearances up the entire season.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've heard it from other people. In context, it makes perfect sense whenever anyone has said it in this show.
Yeah, numerous people have said it, and it's never made me like pause and go.
No, it's always been as you'd expect to hear it in these situations. But it was her, because I don't think she'd said it at all before, and the way it kind of came out really stuck out more.
Yeah, in a way, it was almost the most offensive use of it the entire show.
It probably was.
Yeah, but more to her character as well. When she gets out because she's killed Candace, and she goes back to the club, and you see them taking down the big picture of Biggie, and they put up this other painting, and it's still someone wearing a crown, but it's like an abstract painting. And I thought that was
it feels so insulting to Carmel, doesn't it?
Well, it's not even just that. To me, that perfectly represented her character, because she wants to hide that she's this crime boss. She wants to hide who she really is. So the idea that she's putting up another painting that's also of someone wearing a crown, but is abstract, I thought was perfectly fitting.
There is that. I also just like the idea that she couldn't like sit there in the same place Carmel had and let his, even though obviously the picture wasn't him, but it like his representation of himself almost be there. She had to go, nah, I want something more deformed, something that it kind of, because there's two people on this, her version, right?
Yeah, it's like a front view and a profile view.
Yeah, so it's like one of them is the front view, but it's like it's like let's say it's abstract deformed. It's like that's how she sees Cottonmouth almost, and then obviously there's the reason that it's hiding her as well.
Yeah, and Shades gets a bit of action a little from her.
Because Shades is cool.
I was not expecting it, and I kind of loved how it was a really awkward kiss, but then afterwards Shades just looked so proud of himself.
He does, doesn't he? This is why Shades is by far my favourite character on the show. I mean, I know he shouldn't be, but he just oozes coolness.
I love how all the main villains get taken down, but Shades lives for season 2.
Yeah.
We got more Shades coming. Oh dear. I am happy for that fact. I can do with more Shades. Also, Diamondback is now in the hands of Experiment Doctor Man, whose name I can't remember.
I can't remember his name either.
Yeah, but all I can think is, are you an idiot? How could you possibly think? I mean, obviously he's thinking, okay, it failed on all these people, but it worked on Luke. So his brother probably might also succeed.
Because he did say it was something to. It might be something to do with his
Yeah,
genetics.
yeah. So it makes sense that he would think, oh, his half brother has a good chance of surviving this more than anyone else. But how could he possibly think that this maniac is a good idea to
Right, I
turn
know.
to?
He might not necessarily be putting him through the process. He might
Okay.
be using it as a way to get his cells, his blood, and study it and figure out what the key is, reverse engineer it through him.
See, I get that logic, but at the same time, I feel like because it is a comic book show, I
Yeah,
feel
it's
like,
definitely just going to it's dunking in
yeah,
the tank. I know, I
yeah,
know.
yeah. I feel like no, of course Diamondback's going to come back with super strength, and that
The
just
rest,
makes sense.
it does. It really does.
Uh, but no, so Misty, of course, loses her shit again when Candace dies, and the inspector pulls her up on it. But it's where Misty's sort of arc kind of comes full circle, where even her hiding Candace from the inspector was her not trusting the system. Like she's lost complete faith in it. And
Yeah,
in a way, when we heard about her backstory and how she became a cop, because the cops that investigated her friend's rape and murder was, they just didn't seem to care. They went through the motions, but it wasn't, almost her entire back. Even the reason she became a cop was through mistrust of the system.
yeah.
So her arc kind of comes complete and full circle when she seemingly is going to go in a different direction, and she shows up at the club. I was actually thinking we might even get a scene of her going up and like attacking Mariah or something at the club, but she shows up in her comic book hair. I'll say.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen what she looks like in the comics, but that hair that she has
yeah,
in that last scene is basically because I thought the hair beforehand was just like, oh, we'll tone it down a little bit, but it's still sort of permy and
yeah.
bushy, and it's got the general idea of it. But no, that hair at the end was comic book Misty Knight.
It's like full afro, basically.
Yeah. So again,
But it was just after she pulled down that thing for the self-defense class, right?
after Claire pulled down the thing for the self
Yeah,
defense class. Yeah.
but I feel like they feel very linked now. Like Claire feels linked with her more than she did with any other character in the other show, even though like she's constantly referencing the Matt and Foggy, lawyers and
Yeah.
stuff. It
Yeah.
feels like she has the connections with obviously Luke, but but Misty as well.
Well, Joe's funny actually because the lawyer references were getting a little bit much, but when the one at the end when Luke was getting carted off, I'm like, all right, this makes sense. I almost feel like the start of Defenders might even start with like Matt getting him, freed. Like that could be how we start Defenders.
It could be. The only thing I think of is obviously Luke Cage has a history with Iron Fist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we know I can't remember her name, the lawyer from Jessica Jones.
Mm-hmm.
She's in Iron Fist,
Okay.
so I wonder if there's going to be some sort of connection in there.
Maybe I don't know. I could see them saving that until they meet just properly, like maybe in the Defenders or whatever, and become friends. Because I feel like obviously there's going to be a threat in Defenders, but it doesn't feel like they're setting up in the other shows. So that's why I think there might be a reason why at least a couple of them are together already at the start of
Right.
the season. And then obviously Jessica already knows Luke, so that might come into play fairly quickly. And maybe by then, Night Nurse has got her operation set up. Maybe Misty's just another vigilante, working not
I
under
still
Night Nurse, but
I still think we could get the Night Nurse stuff at Pops
oh,
before.
me too. Although that said, though, I almost am willing to bet more on the Heroes for Hire office, but that's just either
Yeah.
or.
But it could well be because obviously now they're like, nah, okay, this isn't going to be a barbershop anymore.
Yeah, they have that conversation, yeah. And of course, Bobby Fish does find the folder with the evidence, so, I mean, it's not even that hard to believe that Starter Defenders, he gives it to Matt, Matt's got all this proof, and he goes in and just, kills it with evidence, and
Yeah.
done. So I could see that how Defender starts off, or even if it happens off screen, but it literally starts with Luke being freed and him thanking Matt. And
Yeah, it's like
go
how
from
much
there.
of that do we really need to see? Because we
Nah, not
know
much.
the folder has enough to clear him,
Yeah,
and in comparison, him breaking out of the jail is small, really.
yeah. He may have to do like 6 months or something for that, or a year. I mean, I don't know what the.
I feel like given that obviously he's now a national hero, like he's a hero there, and it's like okay, he was framed, he shouldn't have been here. They'll probably find a way just to go, all right, we'll be lenient on you, we'll let you off this one.
Community service.
Hey, he does plenty of community service.
It does. Yeah, but it'll be just on the clock now. That's all.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, no, so that was all sort of fun teasing stuff. I'm excited to see. I mean, it's not been renewed yet, but I am fairly confident we'll get season 2 of Luke Cage.
If we don't get a season 2 of Luke Cage, it'll be because we get
Heroes
a
for
Heroes
Hire.
for Hire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, either or, whatever the progression.
It'll be
will
continued somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm sure of that.
I'm looking forward to seeing what Misty does now. I actually think coming out of the finale, I feel like she's maybe the most intriguing one going forward. Just
Yeah, because we're not entirely sure where she's gonna go.
But of course, we're no. I was good. I guess it's time to sort of look at the season as a whole, and see how we feel about it and compare it to the others. It's funny because I think without much thought, it's better than Daredevil season 2.
Absolutely.
Not even a question.
Yeah,
Where it gets a bit trickier though is comparing it to the other season 1s,
it is.
because I know that we have differing opinions on the season 1s already, just based on Daredevil and Jessica Jones. We both like both, but I would put Daredevil above Jessica, and you vice versa.
Yeah.
But where does this one fit in? Like, does this beat either of those for you? Does it beat Daredevil? Does it beat both?
I'm not sure. I feel like it's very close to Daredevil, maybe on par, but I'm not sure I'd say it's better than it.
It's funny because I think what makes it work really well is it does feel so different, and I
Yeah.
think that's why it's harder to compare it, because Daredevil is very much it's a vigilante show about a guy who's got a secret identity, and he's, in this, because in this I'd say the fighting's probably one of the weaker parts of this show.
Yeah.
There was some good action, but it wasn't. Whereas in Daredevil, everyone remembers that hallway fight. Everyone remembers that, and that might even be the best scene of it. All of these Netflix shows so far is that hallway fight.
Yeah. And there's also even structurally, like Daredevil and Jessica Jones, season ones are very structurally similar, right?
Yeah, even to the point where they kind of dip around the same
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, exactly. And you kind of like it's one villain, start, end, you get it. It's a very neat story. It's almost like they're complete things, whereas this is a lot more open-ended. We got multiple things going on.
Because it's funny, because Daredevil has the thing where it is Kingpin the whole season, but there is one little diversion for an episode or two with the ninja and like the hand and stick, right? Which ended up being a huge part of season 2, which makes me terrified that season 2 of Jessica Jones it'll be what they diverted for an episode or two, which was the pill guy and his like army buddies.
I want to say nuclear something.
Nuclear Man, was it?
I don't think
Nuke.
it is though.
No.
Nuke sounds right, but it's like that doesn't feel like I feel like I'm misremembering somehow.
He had an American flag tattooed on his face in the comics, so I feel like
Yeah.
that might play into his name. I can't remember. We should have just looked this up, but we didn't.
We should have.
But nah, I'm really worried that he's going to be a big part of season 2 of Jessica Jones, because he was easily the worst part of that season.
It was.
By
Really,
far.
really annoyed. What the hell was his name?
And much like Daredevil, though, both of those shows, they were better after those diversions, but they were never as great as the first chunk. Jessica Jones for 10 episodes was a really great show, and then 11 was terrible, and then 12 and 13 were fine, but they didn't, completely bounce back. Whereas Daredevil season 2, after that great first 4 episodes, I didn't really like the rest of it. Whereas Luke Cage was a really weird thing, because it came along and it was like almost split down the middle. There was half which was Cottonmouth, who was very well developed, and then we had half with Diamondback, who was also very well developed. That was a little power surge there.
Yeah. Just for the record, it was Nuke.
Was it? Oh, there you go.
Pulled down my ass. Nice one.
Alright, pat yourself on the back. On you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Proud of that. That was a very obscure memory that I had not thought about in a long time.
But I will say this weird half and half thing did kind of avoid it from doing the dip at the end.
It did. I will say, I still feel like the middle third kind of dipped a little bit, because they moved away from the pop stuff so much, which would have been fine if they hadn't brought it back towards the end, the barbershop and the street routes and stuff.
Yeah, but
Coming back in at the end made me feel like, oh yeah, I missed this.
yeah, there was a couple of episodes when he was away that did feel kind of separate from the rest, especially since it also had him getting into that tank in the barn, and that felt a little bit more outlandish and
Yeah, it's
goofy
just
compared
stuff
to a
like
lot of the show.
the episodes were fine on their own at the time, and moving forward they were fine. But as when we come back to some of these earlier themes, it felt like they were suddenly that we'd been missing them again, but right, instead of having moved past them.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't disappointed we went back. I was happy they went back to those themes. So
I was too, but it feel at the same time it feels like, hang on, where were they for this chunk of episodes?
uh, they just had some necessary stuff they had to do in the middle. They
They
couldn't,
did, but
they couldn't cure him there. They had to go and seek his past. But no, I think overall the season succeeded in being surprising quite often. We were often surprised with things that it did. It felt very different from the other two shows.
it definitely did. Yeah,
It had more of that Western thing going on, and it even because Daredevil by the end of it, like, sure, he's this legend and people are aware of him, but it's not like Luke Cage where like people know who he is and they're chanting his name and he's, you know,
he's the hero of the people.
yeah. So no, I think they did a good job of making them all feel different, even though you could have very easily fell into the trap of making Luke Cage feel almost too much like Daredevil did.
Yeah, quite easily.
Yeah, and they could also fall into that trap with Iron Fist. Although I'm fairly confident they'll make it feel unique enough.
This has given me more confidence in Iron Fist again, because after Daredevil season 2, I was a bit down on these Netflix shows. I was like, oh, okay.
My one worry about Iron Fist, and this is coming from someone who knows next to nothing about the character of Iron Fist, is that because it seems to skew more towards the mystical stuff,
Just might not hit your jam.
I'm worried it's going to be too much like the Hand and Sticks bollocks from Daredevil.
I get that, but you just to be fair, we should say you're not a fan of mysticism in general, really. Like magic, like all the mystical stuff. Even ignoring Daredevil, just as a whole, you're generally speaking not that much a fan.
That's fair. I mean, there are some exceptions to the rule, but yeah.
Yeah, but as a general rule, so obviously it would never excite you as much as, say, Daredevil to begin with would.
No, for me, the other three shows were always more appealing than Iron Fist. Iron Fist is easily the one that I'm the least interested in.
Yeah. But I think for me, like, because obviously I went into this not really knowing what it was going to be, and then coming out going, oh, so it was a Western and a crime drama. It makes me more excited for Iron Fist. It's like, okay, what are they going to do with that?
You're hoping for Enter the Dragon in New York, aren't you?
Maybe, yeah. Like, obviously you're going to play with your mysticism, but what are you going to do with it to keep it fresh and give me something new with it?
It's actually worth mentioning. They literally just announced the date for Iron Fist. It's coming the 17th of March.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit further out than we were expecting.
Yeah, I was thinking February for that one, but
I mean, it's only a month off, but
yeah, because I
it
thought
is, right?
I thought they were skewing. Yeah, February's 1 month away from March.
Oh,
Yes.
I was really like, hang on, is it?
Jesus Christ, Connor.
I don't like months.
You don't. But I was thinking they were going to keep skewing earlier because this year had skewed earlier than the last couple. Unfortunately, that means that Defenders is probably going to hit at the exact same time next year when we're just doing all the start of the new seasons again.
Yeah, because obviously I think Daredevil was in March.
Last year it was, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we just had it in March, right? So it's dead on, like that rotation there.
Yeah. I kind of preferred April, November from the first year.
Yeah, a little bit quieter.
Ah, well, what can you do? Oh well, that's Luke Cage. It was a good show. It was, I went in with fairly tempered expectations because I was so down on the second half of season 2 of Daredevil, but that wasn't half bad.
No, really
to put it as mildly as I possibly can, it was pretty damn good. So
yeah, no, definitely very good, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more from this stuff.
Yeah, so that is the binge complete for another 6 months, give or take. So let us know what you thought of the season as a whole in the comments below. Thoughts and feelings, and where do you think a season 2 would be going? How will it tie into Defenders? All that kind of thing. We're always curious to hear. Keep in mind that we do review Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on a weekly basis if you're into your Marvel TV shows. And of course, if you're just into superheroes in general, we do most of the DC shows from the CW and all that kind of thing every week. So check them out. Other than that though, guys, thanks very much for watching. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz, like and subscribe and all that jazz. It helps us out a lot. Thank you very much for watching. We will see you next time.